Hi, I am Akram, working with Town of Canandiagua on communications. I'm here with the town manager, Doug Finch, and would like to ask him some questions. Doug, you have started recently as the first town manager. Can you describe to us how this role has evolved and what have you done in your position?
Sure, absolutely. But before we get into that, and we'll come back to that, I want to thank you for everything that you've been working with our group and our staff the last few months in your role through SUNY Brockport and as a manager myself and continuously trying to promote the manager form of government as a very efficient option for municipalities to look at around the state. I'm happy for the work that you've done with us and working through SUNY Brockport and getting your MPA and moving on. It sounds like now to another municipality, but that's part of it. So we're really thankful for what you've added to our team over the last couple of months. So thank you for being with us. So the manager form of government was actually adopted by the town board in March of 2017. Any municipality in the state of New York can adopt a manager form of government. There's a section of New York state law, it's called Article 58 of town law, that allows a municipality to adopt the manager form of government. And there's a series of public hearings that have to take place, and the town board held those public hearings, got input from residents. Residents ask a lot of great questions about what is going to be the impact of having a town manager, how would it change the operations, what would the cost be? What would the fiscal impact be? They asked some really good questions, and after a lot of careful consideration by the town board made the decision that they felt it was the most efficient method for moving forward and keeping our town operating in an efficient manner. Especially because I was just thinking, since 2007, the town of Canandaigua has had, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, 7 different town supervisors. Wow. And so the position of town manager actually provides a little bit of stability during political times when supervisors either get elected or don't get elected, where your town manager reporting to the town board is for a defined time period or serves at the pleasure of the town board.
Can you describe how different it is from a political side of the system to a non-partisan role that you have?
Sure, absolutely. So I work with everybody, regardless of political affiliation. As a member of the International City Managers Association, there's a code of ethics that we all have to adhere to. And really, in that role, we have to be apolitical. We have to work with everyone, regardless of their political party, regardless of their political affiliation. And that's why it becomes so important for us to think about the town from a strategic perspective, from an efficiency perspective, from a management perspective, a fiscal management perspective, even like you would any other company, and how you would move that forward without thinking about the politics and any political hot button issue that might come up at any given time.
Sure. So with this role in your situation, how you have, I guess, brought the change or things that you have accomplished over a short term, and what are your plans for the future?
Sure. So I serve at the pleasure of the town board, and the town board actually sets the direction. And I think that we just need to take a second and talk about that, because what happened with the change to the town manager form of government is, yes, I'm the chief administrative officer and I oversee the daily operations. But the town board is actually the one that sets the policy. The town board decides, okay, this is what we're going to go work on. This is what we want to see accomplished. These are the things that we're going to invest in on behalf of our residents and behalf of our community. Okay, town manager, go make it happen.
So you take that directive from the board,
correct,
and then you go ahead and basically do the implementation part.
Exactly. So, and the one thing that sometimes there's some confusion about is the things that I do as the town manager or that the staff is doing under my direction is not my own personal agenda. That's the direction that I've been given by the town board. So the town board has held public hearings, or they've gotten input from the community and made decisions on whatever it is that they're trying to advance and move forward.
But you bring in rigor that is needed for any organization to thrive in terms of the organizational efficiencies, performance evaluations, and whatnot.
Correct.
So employees benefit from you as a manager because they know that they have to report to you. Tell us your routines or things that you have done in last year and 2 years.
Sure. So, you mentioned performance evaluations, so that is something new that I have instituted. All employees have a performance evaluation now, all the town hall employees. And we go through, as part of their performance evaluation, and we look at, okay, what are the things, how were you successful in achieving the goals that we had set for that year? And then we look at the next year in setting goals for themselves in terms of personal achievements and personal goals, as well as the goals that align with the town board's directives,
Right.
and the town board's policies and the town board's strategic planning for the year. So we have one of the changes that we also instituted about the same time as the town manager form of government is we created committees. So we have 4 standing town board committees. We have an ordinance committee, we have a planning committee, planning public works, we have an environmental committee, and we have a finance committee. And each of those committees is chaired by a town board member. And each of those committees has their own goals and their own strategic initiatives that they're trying to achieve on behalf of the town for a given year. And so then what we do is we take those goals from each of those committees and we align those very similarly to the performance evaluation and the goals of the individual employees. Some employees may be, for instance, more planning. For instance, like in the development office, they're working on planning, they're working on building, they're working on the comprehensive plan updates, which was one of the goals that the town board set, versus somebody else might be working on finance.
My next question is about the budget. Can you describe to us in details how the budget process works in terms of start to finish?
Sure. So that'll take about 6 hours. So I hope everybody's buckled down with a great cup of coffee.
You can give us a summary version.
Okay, we can talk about summary. The budget is quite a process for the town of Canandaigua. In the town of Canandaigua, we have a general fund and we have a highway fund and we have 28 special districts. So when we actually create our budget, we're actually creating 30 different budget documents that all get adopted at the same time. For the town of Canandaigua. By the way, the full budget document is available on the website. You can take a look at it. The whole budget document is there, and it really kind of details all of the specifics in terms of every line item. If you'd like to do that, you can certainly go through that, and all that information is there. But we also put a handy-dandy, this is actually my message to the residents of the town of Canandaigua, put a little summary page right at the very beginning that tells you how much money gets spent, for instance, on what. So, for instance, of the approximately $13 million budget, about $4.8 million is spent on highway. So about half of the budget is highway related. And then there's information here relative to all of the different districts, water being the next largest, and all of our water districts. But our budget process actually begins in about July, and that's when the department heads start to bring their request forward for the upcoming year. And then we start to fine-tune those, and then we assemble what's called a tentative budget, and then submit that to the town board. Then the town board goes through line by line and looking at their strategic goals for the next year, looking at the budget request and seeing how it aligns. And then they have to make some hard decisions in terms of what they're going to decide to fund, what they won't decide to fund. And that really starts to develop the budget from there. Then we have hearings, public hearings, where the residents get to provide input. Then we adopt what's called a preliminary budget. Have some more public hearings at that point for make sure everybody is well informed of the budget. And then finally gets to adoption, usually around October, in time for the upcoming year. We also have another little chart in the budget document itself, and it kind of shows out the tax rates of all of the surrounding municipalities and how the town of Canandaigua compares. And so you have quite an assortment, starting with the school district here, which is about $19 a thousand. The county itself is $6 and change to $1,000. All the way down to the town of Canandaigua is $1.03 a thousand. So that's kind of the bottom of the the bottom of the chart here, we're one of the lowest in terms of $1.03, especially for the services that we provide. Additionally, we have other special districts, water special districts, we have fire protection funds, and a variety of other costs that come up as part of the budget. But the other thing that we changed with the town manager form of government, one of the things that I worked very closely with our finance team is actually creating a capital improvement plan.
Yes.
And why that is so important to the residents to understand what that is that really tells us for the next 15 years what our big expenditures are going to be. So instead of buying, for instance, 3 snowplows at $250,000 in a single year, have that $750,000 expense, we spread it out so that we try to keep the cost, the big cost, as level as possible so we don't have big fluctuations on the tax rate. We try to keep the tax rate very, very consistent. We do the same with water. We do the same with highway improvements. We do the same with a variety of our bigger projects that we know are coming up so that we really try to minimize the tax rate as much as possible. And that's kind of the budget process in a short version. In all, it's about a 4-month process that kind of goes through to create a budget.
Well, thank you for describing in details the whole budget process. One of my questions is related to the next big item that town government is involved is the comprehensive plan. Could you indulge into the details of what this plan is, how you envision it in general, and what are you expecting and the steps that are ahead of you?
So we are so fortunate in the town of Canandaigua with the work of our comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan was first adopted in 2000 as one of the first plans, and then there was a 2003 update and a 2011 update. And in 2014, we formed what's called a Citizens Implementation Committee that kind of went through all of the action items, the 20 goals of the comprehensive plan, and really helped to monitor to make sure that we were achieving those goals. And I'm very proud of the work that group has done. We actually received an award in 2018 from the New York Planning Federation for our work on a comprehensive plan and our implementation strategy. But now it's time for us to take the next step. And now as we look to the future of the town of Canandaigua for the next 10, 15 years, we have to start looking at, our 2020 comprehensive plan, essentially. And what is it? What is it that your 6-year-old, your grandchild, your son, what is it that you would like to see for your 6-year-old when he's 16 or when he's 20? What do you think Canandaigua should look like? And we have to start to look to the future now and planning for that. And that's why we do those comprehensive plans every approximately 10 years, because it really is a big factor in how we look at our community and how we develop our community, how we plan for development in our community and the services that we provide.
So it's not just about what you're doing year-to-year basis, which is mainly covered with the budget, but it's really the next generational point of view, that how you're going to protect and preserve and also bring the change, that is going to be helpful in that direction.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we've accomplished over the last 3 years now. With a lot of the work that we've done. For instance, we've done a sewer master plan. We've done a water master plan so that we could really see
all the small
specifics.
Pieces and now putting it together into a big picture.
Exactly. We did an agriculture enhancement plan. We've been very successful with some of the work we've been doing in agriculture. We did an open space plan. But those really start to tell us the specifics. And then the comp plan overall talks about, as a community, where we would like to see things go.
And if you can just tell me about how you envision the citizen participation in this process. If you can just, how important it is, and why do you think they should come out, and the outreach should be done where you would like the most participation.
Yeah, citizen involvement is critical because we want to implement what the citizens would like. Just like I take my direction from the town board, they give me the implement. They tell me, we want you to X, whatever X is, and then I go out and make it happen. The town board takes their direction from the residents. And so the residents need to help us understand, what is it that you would like to see 10 years from now? Are you happy with the way things are going? Are there certain things that you feel like are missing? We have a common vision statement now that references a rural community. Obviously, the town of Canandaigua is growing, but One of the things that makes the town of Canandaigua very unique is our diversity. We have agriculture areas, we have rural areas, we have housing developments, we have commercial areas, we have industrial, we have mixed use. There's not a lot of municipalities that have that much diversity in terms of land use and planning. We're very fortunate in that regard.
Since you mentioned the rural character part, one of the things that I would really like you to elaborate on about the parks and how, I know there's some organizational change that you have implemented recently. Can you tell us what was it, and also, how do you see that as an asset to the community?
Sure. Our parks department, we're very fortunate. We have, I think, in all 9 parks in the town of Canandaigua. We have a number of trails throughout the town of Canandaigua. And one of the things that all of our groups are working on, whether it's our planning board or whether it's our environmental or our Parks and Rec committee, is the connection of those pieces. And so, for instance, when we're looking at a new development, how a trail could connect to a park or to another trail, so that really we have the ability for the community to experience. Exactly. One of our newest parks, Miller Park, we're getting ready to do a ribbon cutting rather on that. And we've actually just broken ground on a new park. Take a look across the street from Outhouse Park. Right now we affectionately call it Outhouse Park West, but we're planning on some ball fields there, and then very excited there's a group that we're working with for a fully inclusive playground at that park, which will be very unique for our area. Everybody of all abilities will be able to jointly play at that playground. One of our changes recently is our long-term director of Parks and Recreation is retired, and so we've done some restructuring, but really kind of separating our recreation and our parks programs, utilizing existing staff. We'll continue to offer unparalleled service in terms of our quality of our parks. I'm confident in that. We're committed to that. One of our goals for 2019 is actually ADA compliance in our parks. That's something that we're really working on and trying to improve, as we also continue to explore additional recreation programs. And one of our newest recreation programs is actually an adult recreation program, a senior recreation program, and we're really excited about that. And they have all kinds of activities. They meet on Thursday mornings from 9:30 to 11:30. Everything from playing games and socializing to bus trips, and we're really proud of that group also, that newest program that we've gotten started.
Well, wish you success in that.
Thank you.
One of the questions I have is about infrastructure in general. I know you have a new highway facility and you have water, and could you elaborate a bit more about your investments and how do you see it?
Sure, absolutely. Our highway facility, the old highway facility, had been there for going on 40 years. And it was ending end of life, and there were even some components in terms of the structural integrity of it that often gets overlooked, but it was really time for us to think about doing something in a different direction. The initial estimates came in that the tax impact to our residents of the town of Canandaigua would be between 25 and 31 cents per thousand additional. And I'm really proud of our total team on that project, because that $6.5 million project, essentially what happened is our crews, our highway crews, they did all the site work themselves, or the majority of it themselves, saving us as much as $1 million on that cost. Plus, we really, looked at every penny in that project. That project was led by our Planning Public Works group. The chair of that is Town Board Member Terry Finelli. Did a great job in managing that project. There were very few change orders. Everything came in very consistent, on time, and under budget, is what we always said. And then the other thing that we were able to do is to reduce the tax impact to our residents. We were actually able to absorb in the 2019 budget a lot of the debt service payment associated with that highway facility by trimming other areas of the town budget. And so what it ended up happening is the tax rate went from 91 cents to $1.03, so 12 cents directly attributable to that highway facility versus the 25 to 31 cents. And additionally, we shortened the term of the bond, or the mortgage payment, essentially the mortgage like you would have on your house. Instead of doing, for instance, a 30-year mortgage, we did a 15-year mortgage. And that actually saved us over about $1.5 million by shortening up that term so that the residents don't keep paying that additional interest payment for that longer period. So we were able to really, I feel like, work diligently through that process and keep costs in line. Now, the next big thing that we have is we know that there's some issues with water, and we have requests for additional water. We have pressure that we need to improve upon in our water system. And so that same group that was working on the highway facility project is now working on a water project. We've recently, as many people probably see, some of the construction over on County Road 10, 364 area. We've been working to expand our water over on that side of the town and looping that into the Canandaigua consolidated water system and the city water system to improve the pressures. And that was actually a great example of a public-private partnership where there was a private entity that invested in that along with us, and we were actually able to get some state grant funds to really minimize the impact for that project. But then the other big water project is we're having to actually build 2 new water tanks on Kramer Road. We're having to put in some additional water lines and loop the system around to, again, provide that additional water pressure and those additional flows that are needed that are required by the Department of Health. A lot of what we do are mandates by the state government. Sometimes that comes from the federal. But the Department of Health said to us, hey, you have to make some improvements. And so in all, that's about a $7.5 million project. We're optimistic. We're going to try to get grant funds to cover at least half of that, but we're really planning even for that. When I talk about the long-range capital planning that we do and the long-range budgeting, we're looking ahead 5 years. When we did the town budget this past year, we adopted a budget that actually had a 5-year forecast so that we could really see the potential impact for these projects and help mitigate
when
those
these projects
as we go.
come in and complete.
Exactly.
One of the things that I would like to know from you is the town's effort in working towards the recycling and the efforts that you have ongoing. Could you elaborate on that?
So there's been a lot of talk in the media about Plan 2028. Plan 2028 is the closure of the Ontario County landfill, and then what would happen to each of the municipalities that currently take their waste there, and then what's the impact to the residents of Ontario County, and specifically for us, the town of Canandaigua. One of the things that our groups, our environmental committee and our environmental conservation board have been working on is what they call waste diversion, taking waste out of the stream that doesn't necessarily need to go to the landfill. That could be recycling, that could be organics, food waste, that could be plastics. We instituted, we've got a great person on staff that is really championing that effort for us. Caitlin, she's got a lot of information on the website and Facebook. She's been going to schools to teach even the kids about, hey, here's some things that you could do differently in your home, and try to help educate the parents by going through the schools and through the students. But the food organics recycling, that tends to be so heavy that, in years past, you would throw, a half-eaten pizza or, leftover soup or whatever the case into your waste. And that really weighs down. When you think about a community of over 11,000 people, which is now what the town of Canandaigua is, and I just, for reference, the town of Canandaigua is now larger than the city of Canandaigua from a population standpoint. We continue to grow. When that really starts to add up. So if we can divert the food and the organic material out, that helps reduce that. And then the other thing is the plastic, electronics recycling. Those are some of the new things that we've recently offered. In the first month of instituting a program for plastic bag recycling, you go to the store and you get a plastic bag, you take your groceries home, everybody experienced that, right? So we can now recycle those. We can now take those. We have a partner that we work with that they actually take those and then they reuse those into other materials. They actually
get recycled.
And I want to give a tip of the hat to Wegmans, because that's our partner with that. And from what I understand, they take those plastic bags and then they recycle those and use those to make the carry-in, carry-out bags at the stores that a lot of times you see. But in our very first month of accepting plastic bags at our waste transfer station, we collected 138 pounds of plastic bags in our very first month. So that's 138 pounds that didn't go into the landfill or weren't blowing all over the place. So we're continuing to explore new opportunities for waste and recycling. And that changes so frequently. I would certainly encourage anyone to reach out to Caitlin, check our website, our Facebook, social media, any of those types of our communication channels as we communicate with our residents on that.
On the communications part, could you tell us your thoughts on how the town has historically communicated, and how do you think the technology has come along, and now you're looking to the future?
So I'm really proud of where we have come from in terms of communication, and you can trace it back for many years. Previous supervisor Pam Helming started a twice a year newsletter that they were putting together, our quarterly newsletter, and then we've continued to develop that. In my first month as town manager in March of 2017, we actually started a monthly electronic newsletter, and that has continued every month since then. It is important for us to communicate with our residents, to share information about the things that we're working on, but also to get feedback from them in what they would like to see. If they agree or don't agree, that's okay. All feedback is welcome. We started the monthly electronic newsletter, as I said, that goes out by something called MailChimp and also goes on our website. We continue to make enhancements, as you know, to our website and really try to make that more user-friendly. We continue to explore and push additional social media opportunities. Facebook, we have a town Facebook page. We have actually two of our parks, and we didn't create them, but two of our parks actually have their own Facebook page, Outhouse Park and Ononda Park. And it wasn't that we were looking to create those, but so many residents and visitors to those parks, we found were tagging themselves, posting pictures of themselves in the parks, that Facebook actually created those pages for those two parks. So please, actually, if you're at Ononda or you're at Outhouse, take a picture with you and yourself and your kid or grandkid or just your family having a good time. Please post it. We love seeing that people are using our parks. We're very passionate about our parks in all of the different parks, and we really are trying to enhance your experience in our parks. So please feel free to continue to do that. We're going to continue to work on communication. We want to increase our communication, like for instance through these videos to the community. We want your feedback. We're going to try to keep finding new alternatives and new options for reaching out to people. But it's also important that we hear from our residents too. And I know all of our town board members, all 5 of our town board members, want to hear from the residents about any issue. We really try to our best to really utilize all of our different channels, and we are passionate about transparency in our operations. And I think that's obvious from the 400 pages of our town board agendas, where we post everything, every resolution, every attachment. We post even, you can see the bank statements. Exactly. So you can see all that through our website and see everything that we're talking about. And I know the town board members would really appreciate additional feedback.
The engagement from the channels and all this, I think it really helps the government stay in check from the community, and also it allows you to focus on what are the priorities in terms of, when you're dealing with the board members, and if you're hearing directly from the community through website, through direct contact and whatnot, to kind of bring some contrast into the discussion and whatnot. I really applaud you for your efforts.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you for providing me the opportunity to be part of the team. I really enjoyed working with all the departments and doing this fun stuff. I wish you continued success. And to the residents, I believe that this form of government is going to benefit them a lot.
Thank you, Akram, and good
Thanks a
luck
lot.
too.
Appreciate
Thank you. Take care.
Absolutely.